Everyone, and a warm welcome. First off, to a quick reminder that this is a revised version of the morning call as we observe and comply with all the necessary measures set in place to protect ourselves and save lives. And now, it's 1 year after the ouster of Sudan's longtime leader, Omar Al Bashir. It was on April 11, 2019, 4 months after bloody mass protests sparked by a hike in bread prices morphed into wider demands for freedom, that Sudan's military authorities announced that they had finally removed Bashir from power. It was then replaced by a transitional military government that itself faced mass opposition until its departure gave way to a transition to civilian rule headed by economist Abdullah Hamdo. So, how is the country marking the 1 year anniversary? The Sudanese army deployed on Monday on the streets, its men leading to its headquarters in Khartoum. Also, the military says the remains of 28 officers who were executed 3 decades ago will be returned to their families. The men were arrested in April 1990 and accused of taking part in a coup plot against then-President Omar Al Bashir. And for Bashir, the 76-year-old is still held in Khartoum's Koba prison, where many of his opponents were detained during his rule. For more on the present situation in the Horn of Africa nation, we're now being joined by Hafiz Mohammed from Justice Africa. Hafiz is with us this morning from Khartoum. A warm welcome to you, Hafiz. 1 year on it is to the end of a 3-decade rule. Let me start by taking a look at those who didn't believe in this revolution and may perhaps still be holding onto their views. What assurances would you give them? Is the country better now, or is it headed in the right direction, Hafiz?
To some extent, I think what's happening during the last 6 months since the establishment of the new civilian government, to some extent, prove they are, I think, right, because I don't think the revolution is going on the right track. I think there is a lot what's supposed to happen, and that's not happening. And if you look at the Constitution Declaration, which is being signed in August, putting as priority peace, and it's supposed to be achieved within 6 months, that nothing happened. And also, one of the main issues, which is really of concern to many people, is the remnants of the regime still controlling many part of the government and the country, especially the economy. And the government, Hamdo government and his finance minister, they are totally impetus. I think they are unwilling or unable to actually take the right decision to put their hand on the economy and control it. And that's the problem. This is why, since Hamdok become a prime minister, the Sudanese pound actually have deteriorated, also lost more than half of its value. That is very serious, and also that had a very big inflationary pressure on the economy and on the people who are have a very limited income. Regarding the government, performance is zero for me. I don't think they are performing good, and I don't think they are delivering to the people who actually the demand of the people, which actually initiating this revolution.
Now, that doesn't sound like a very good situation, Hafiz. So what would you say is the problem with the transition, and how can it be fixed?
I think there's some element of change regarding the transition, especially there is some space of freedom for media and also for organization, demonstration, but it's still not 100% because there's still element from the regime in the police and the security and the army, and they're still controlling. And one of the mistakes of the transitional government and the declaration, constitutional declaration, is they allowing reforming the security and the army and the police and the security organs to the military members of the Supreme Council, and that's one of the big mistakes. And also the role of the civilian government is actually is not in accordance with what is supposed to happen, what is supposed to be according to the declaration of principle. Still, the military is still controlling the country, and they have more strong hand over things. And also the finance minister is totally impetus. He's actually not able to do anything about stopping the transitional economy, or there is lack of fuel, there's lack of bread, there is too many problems. He's impetus, he's still allowing the remnants of the regime to run the economy, especially the public companies, which is supposed to be under the control of the finance minister. This is why I think that a lot need to be done. I think we need to shake up the whole system of the transition so they can function properly and respond to the demand of the people and to the revolution.
Thoughtful. But this is however how much we can take. Hafiz, I'd like to thank you for sharing your insight with us about the situation and how you think it can be solved right there. Thank you very much. Hafiz Mohammed from Justice Africa speaking to us there from Khartoum on what is the one-year anniversary of the ouster of Omar Al Bashir. And now let's bring you some other stories making headlines across the continent.